Welcome to the Extra Mile podcast for bar exam takers. My name is Jackson Mumey, and each week we'll be bringing you updated information about the bar exam and what you need to do in order to make the next bar exam your last bar exam. Ready to get started? Let's jump to it. Welcome. Today is Wednesday, February 14th. Happy Valentine's Day. We have June here with us at the house, and we got Tracy here with us. I'm here. Glad to have all of you with us. If you're joining us live today, that's great. If you're here on the replay, glad to have you here as well. We're now just under 2 weeks to the bar exam.
Here we are. We're going to talk more about what your perspective could be right now. And it will help you a few days from now.
Yeah, although it's interesting, it is a few days, but it's really a long period of time. This 13 or 14 days takes forever. And there is so much growth and ability that can happen when you are in that situation. And I want everybody to be relaxed and be cool. We've got Amanda joining us today. We're going to answer student questions and bring you up to date on some things. Tracy's going to be talking about, I think you called it eyes and hearts forward.
Yes.
That'll be interesting. And of course, we got June here, and we haven't had June here for a couple of weeks. And I know you aren't able to stay for the entire call today, June, so we're going to get you going in a minute, but I want to say hi to Amanda. Good to see you. Glad that you're here. We were just talking about how 13 days is a short time, but also a very long time in bar review, isn't it?
We talked about that in our coaching call 2 days ago. I've been running around since that time, so here I am. But we were just talking about that, how we had a few students there and saying how it feels like, oh my gosh, I need to be done with everything. Have I done all the review yet? We're saying, no, you don't. You absolutely do not need to be all the way through. This is actually where some of the most learning happens, especially when you can give yourself a few days to not do as much and let that learning settle in, let it get into your unconscious brain.
So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. We got a lot of questions from people about those things that were on their mind. But June, since we got you here, hi, and happy Valentine's.
Hi.
I know you've got some things to share with the group about mindset and some of the coaching that you're doing. So let me turn it over to you for.
Yeah. So, hi, everybody. 2 weeks. It's exciting. I want you to be excited. You've worked so hard for this. It's like almost go time. And that is an amazing place to be. So, please be so excited. You're so much closer and you're going to be ready. You're going to be ready. So, put that on your mindset. 2 weeks is an eternity right now. But let's switch gears a minute. Every year or every season, right before the bar, I do a gratitude journal challenge. And I am doing that this year as well. On Monday, the 19th, we will start our 7-day gratitude challenge. I will post it in our community group in Mighty Networks. And each day, maybe I'll prompt you to go do it. And I'll tell you exactly what to do, how to do it. It's super easy. 5 minutes tops out of your life. But monumental, everyone that has done the challenge has loved it. And it's something that will feed into all areas of your life beyond the bar exam. I know everything on here is usually about bar, but part of my mission is to take you past the bar exam and to help you create everything you want with a better mindset. So that's what I have, Jackson. Get settled, get centered.
Yeah,
Help.
I agree. The last 2 weeks are when, for most people, they make or break their results. This is really when it happens. Make sure that you take advantage of all the resources that we can offer you. Thank you, June.
I'm going to just tweak my own little word here a minute. I do have a little bit of space for one-to-one calming the chaos coaching. It's 4 calls. We can get them in the next 2 weeks. If you are not feeling super secure with where you're at, I'm going to encourage you to sign up with me for calming the chaos because it will help. I feel, and I've said it 100 times, and Jackson knows this, I feel 80% of passing this exam is your mindset.
Yeah, I think you're right.
You can know everything in the world. Get in there and talk yourself out of this. Don't do that. You work too hard. Just don't do it.
Calming the Chaos is a terrific program. I hope that people can take advantage of that. Thank you so much. Good to hear from you. Other announcements. I wanted to remind everyone that the February 2024 preview videos are now up. They're in your courses. If you haven't watched it, Someone was asking me, should I really spend a half an hour watching this? And the answer is yes, not so much for the preview or the prediction value, but for the sense of the exam, what's going on in the exam, trends, where the examiners seem to be going. I think it's half an hour well spent. There's a couple of other videos that I think are worth watching right now. One is on selective intuition. I posted it here on the community group. It's also on our Facebook page. It's in your course. It's a live stream that I did a year ago. I think it's pretty helpful on selective intuition. And then I think it's useful to be working through some of those self-care videos that you'll find in your course, the 5-minute drop-ins, the 10-minute drop-ins. I do think they make a difference. Working with June for mindset is more direct, but these tools are good. And the reason I mention that is that as coaches, we are now entering the season that we call Irrational Weekend. It's Wednesday. It appears to have started already, so we're a few days ahead of schedule. But Irrational Weekend means that this is when people start to get really stressed out. When you add Valentine's Day and Mardi Gras and Ash Wednesday, all of the things that go on this time of the year, it certainly adds to that pressure. This is when bar takers tend to start picking fights needlessly with everybody, not just us, but the barista, their spouse, their family, their employer. And it's when the pressure just simply has been built up so much. So it's an important time to keep yourself calm and focused and following the process that we have laid out for you. I know that when you got to this stage a few years ago, you were pretty stressed out, weren't you?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I was actually telling this to attend those group coaching sessions that you had to convince me and June had to convince me to take more time off from work. And I know that not everyone has that luxury to be able to do that. But if you absolutely can, especially if you have a full-time job, your job should want this for you. If not, you need to start looking for another job. But because of having to calm down and focus and not pick fights with everyone, get stressed, your cup can only take so much. It's going to overflow. So that's what I was thinking of. And we had a conversation about that on Monday.
Yeah, absolutely. And so whatever you can do as a bar taker to reduce your stress is important. The group coaching call is certainly one of those things, but just staying focused and not getting caught up in all of the social media, the noise.
Don't go on the forum. Don't go on any forums except for Celebration.
That's really it.
Yeah.
It's appalling to me what people are saying and the amount of bad information. So be careful about that. We're going to talk more about that. We've got some great questions that came in during the week. So a lot of them had to do with that particular stress level that people are feeling. It's normal to be stressed out right now. Next thing I wanted to talk about is our live boot camp. And at boot camp, we're going to have Tracy there. We're going to have June there. We're going to have Amanda there. We're going to have Brianna there. We're going to have me there. What a deal. This is the most number of coaches we've ever had at a boot camp. And we are very excited. It's April 26th and 27th in Denver. You need to fill out a short application and pay a fully refundable $100 deposit to secure your spot. And there's a link to apply. And once you've done that application, we will review it and get back to you. And hopefully you'll get a golden ticket. And then you've locked in the 2,500. This boot camp, I'm excited about. We've got all the coaches here. We're going to be able to keep the group size, small size, intact. And we're going to be doing essay writing, performance test writing, MBE practice, mindset practice, mind mapping, photo reading. If you're already a photo reader, we're going to deduct the cost of your photo reading course from your bootcamp tuition. If you're not a photo reader, we're going to give you the full photo reading course. We also have the ability for you to pay your balance over time using our third-party buy now, pay later program. So it's really pretty affordable. This is the time to jump on it. Now, we also know that some of you are February bar takers, and you may be saying, I'm just not sure about how I'm doing with the exam. Maybe I want to cover my bases by some insurance. If you invest the $100, it's refundable. If you don't need boot camp, no problem. You get your $100 back, but you've reserved the seat. So I would encourage you, if you think this is a possibility in your situation, to go ahead and apply. We will hold a seat for you pending your results. The people that go to boot camp pass the bar. And I was looking the other day at the list of people who have come through boot camp who've passed, and the list just goes on. I was trying to think of people to come and speak to our boot campers. There's a big group, and that's pretty exciting. You've been doing this with me for a long time. It's cool to see that, isn't it?
It is. It's very exciting to see it. Bootcamp was the catalyst that caught them. It has. So it's exciting to see.
Yeah, we hope that all of you will join us. It's easy to get to Denver, lots of hotels at different price points. We're going to take care of most of your meals. It's a Friday, Saturday event. We will do Friday lunch and Friday dinner. We will do Saturday lunch, and you'll be out by the evening on Saturday so you can make your travel plans back home. So please check that out. If you have any questions, let us know. Again, it's April 26th and 27th here in Denver. All right. With that, I want to go ahead and jump into some questions that we got. A lot of questions around how to take tests right now, what to do, what do the results mean. So I want to give you a sense of some of that. One question we got, we've been talking about the writing process, obviously using FLA. A student said, I'm trying to figure out my time frames for writing. They said, I want to spend 1 to 2 minutes reading the question, and then I want to outline disputes and formulate the headers. And that should take me 5 to 8 minutes. Then I want to fill in with the FLA format for about 5 minutes per question. Now, I'm going to flip this over to Tracy and Amanda. Regardless of whether you're in a 30-minute essay or a 45-minute essay or a 60-minute essay, your preparation stages are not wildly different. You're going to read the problem, and then you're going to set up your outline first, and then you're going to move into the drafting. And the way that I like people to draft is what I call the skeleton system. You set up your basic outline, and then you start to fill it in rather than writing from the top of the answer down to the bottom, which is where you could sometimes just run out of time. So as you look at a question and you think about your time frame, look at the calls of the question, figure out how many you've got, and then start doing some division. In general, I would not spend more than 5 minutes to read the problem and get the calls of the question on the paper. I think doing more than that is overthinking it. If you're in a 30-minute essay jurisdiction, that really puts you under time pressures. Amanda, let me throw it over to you. What's your thought about time frame?
I think that's right. The only thing I'll add, if this is working for the student, and they should know by now, you are getting your 30 minutes in, you're getting your words, and you're hitting all the conflicts. Maybe you can get away with it. You're fast typer, you're thinking fast, you're moving fine. I do see a lot of students spending too long formulating the headers. So when it's outlining all the conflicts, formulating the headers, in most jurisdictions, if you're UBE, the headers are only like 3. And my biggest critique for students is spending too long on like header 1 is 5 elements of like negligence or something like that. It's just like the car, whatever it is. It just can be one word, negligence, the action. It doesn't have to be that long. And so you're mostly going to only have 3 of them. Is that really going to take you 5 to 8 minutes? Then if you get those 3 headers real quick, 3 to 4, maybe, you're 5 at the most, I think, you're going to then again skeleton out that FLA and start filling in if I was going to do that. Now, I know Georgia and California can have a bit more conflicts sometimes, especially some of the Georgia essays. So maybe, again, it might take you a little longer to formulate headers, but 5 to 8 minutes sounds to me a lot. And maybe I'm being nitpicky here, but the reason I think I am is because I think the quicker you get writing and get going, sometimes people spend, oh, did I get all the conflicts, right? Keep writing. And if this student is using this and they're making the time, I think you could type 800 to 900 words in 15 minutes if you're a fast typer. I would maybe like to see it more like 20 minutes spent on writing, but that's just me.
Yeah, I think that's good advice. Tracy, you have anything you would do differently there?
So I'm going to show you again this recipe that came up with. This is the FLA recipe. If you follow this recipe for each of the questions, what Jackson calls, you will have plenty of time, no matter whether you're writing a 30-minute essay, a 90-minute MPT, a 1-hour essay. So the formula, if you follow the formula, will lead you to the rest of the words in your sentences. And you don't have to spend a whole lot of time thinking about how do I go about answering this question. Students, they waste a lot of time thinking about how do I set this up. So Jackson calls it the skeleton. I call it the recipe. The very first thing you have to do is look to see what you're being asked. Don't start reading the facts. Go down and see what the question is. And that will help you when you're reading the facts, start filling in that top part of the skeleton.
Also, the other thing that I always say is important is to write in your first sentence in the fact paragraph, what is the legal relationship of the parties? Because that will lead you down through the recipe, through the standard of care, through the legal standards, the burden of proof. You're basically writing an opening statement here. If you start thinking it that way and think of it professionally instead of as a student in law school, it's really going to help you move forward and you'll get through it in time. You just have to practice it.
Find your own pacing, practice that over the next couple of weeks, and you should be fine. There's no hard and fast rule about any of this. That's why we
Yep.
can't say everybody has to do 3 minutes, 28 seconds or something. It's what works for you. So that's great. Thank you. Great question. I want to talk about multi-states, MBEs. We got a lot of questions. Obviously, people are jumping into MBEs. A lot of questions are giving me scores on the OPEs. That's called the online practice exam. That's the name the bar examiners gave these. And there are three of them. There's 2006, 2009, and 2014. When you let us know your scores, we keep track of them. I like to see where those numbers are. You can certainly see them when they're online, but I like getting your scores and matching them up. The student took, for example, the 2014 OPE and said, my score had dropped from the other OPEs, and I'm trying to assess if it was harder or if I was just tired tonight. It's a bit of both. If you go back to the day 24 email, the one that is very long, and as a student told me this morning, much too complicated, I have benchmarks in there for each of those tests. I also have benchmarks in the actual assignments when you're doing the OPEs, and that's what you should be looking at. It's not that I don't want to give you the answer. It's just that I think you should be able to assess based on that information yourself. But having said all that, if you are getting over 60% correct on these OPEs, that's a perfectly acceptable number right now. If the number's higher, that's great. If it's a little bit lower, that's okay too, because these are not predictive. I want to say that again. The OPEs are not predictive. They are mixed question practice designed to help you learn the law. We are still in the learning the law stage, believe it or not. And so mostly what we want you to do is to get through those three OPEs, review the answer explanations, mind map them. And if your score is 60% or higher, you're probably on track. If it's a little under it, then that's a great opportunity to learn. Amanda, you do the MBE workshop. Am I roughly on target when I use those benchmarks there?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, this is something that has been talked about a lot in one-on-one coaching. People who are working on MBEs with me don't put so much weight on this. And the example I actually give is from big box courses. Where people, you'll see this, you go on after you take the bar exam, then you can go on the forums if you want. Big people will say, especially when the results come out, they'll say, but I got all of them right. I got all the practice questions right. Why did I fail the exam? Because they want you to believe, because you'll feel better if I say you get this percent, you'll be fine. The reality is people fall below 60% on the OPs and they pass, and people score above and they don't get a passing score. So, you have to look at it as an opportunity to learn, to think that, because we want to feel like if I just do this, I'm going to do well. We went to school and you had quizzes and midterms. And if you did well on all that, guess what? You were probably going to pass the course and get a good grade on the final. And it's not like that. This is your opportunity to do that. When I took the OPs, Jackson probably has my 1991 score. Did I do well? Yes. Was I like, she's probably going to pass the exam, but it wasn't shoo-in, I'm going to pass. I used that time to learn the law, get it into my unconscious brain. The questions I got wrong are the questions I got right for the wrong reason. I definitely didn't score in the 99 percentile on the 91, and I did on the exam. So if I can jump points, you can jump points. It's all about how you approach it and how you use these exams going forward in the next 13 days.
Yeah. And I'm watching June smile because she knows that a big part of this was just getting your head on straight to be able to continue to grow. But it is a growth mindset, isn't it, June?
It is. Do not get personally tied to these scores. First, you figure out, what do I need to focus on? What am I not so strong in? What did I not get right? And then you literally ball it up and toss it. That is how much that score means. Do not get this into your head. It's not. You are fine. Energy levels. Some days you're going to be riding high and you're going to be getting everything right. And then the next day, boom,
Yeah.
it's going to come down. Ride the wave. You are fine.
Yeah.
You have everything you need. Again, if you don't talk yourself out of it.
You got a student that wrote me and said, I did a practice essay today and I did horribly. And the little confidence I had is now gone. That is exactly what you're talking about, isn't it, Jim?
If that's what shakes your confidence, come talk to me because we need to really talk hard on that. Do not let this shake your confidence. You are amazing. If you have done the course, you've gotten through the substantive, you have everything you need to be successful on this exam. The rest is up to you. So my thing is, if the statement of there went my confidence, I would ask you to flip that and go, I am confident in me. So what do I need to be confident in this exam?
Yeah. And I think that this is one of those points where people start stressing and obsessing. I've said repeatedly that I would like you to be uncomfortable this week. That's where the growth happens. Discomfort is good. And so I'm happy that this student had an essay that kicked their ass because it gives them a chance to learn something as compared to I'm just floating through it and it's all okay. We got questions about the mechanics of what you do with 14 days to go, all review or all MBE or something else. And I think it's important to point out that the way that the course is structured is that you create your own journey when you're in the review. If you're working in this growth mindset, what you're trying to do is to find your weakest areas and you jump to that subject. So I suggested to a student earlier today that they make a list of all the subjects in their exam and rank order them from least comfortable to easiest. Take those 3 or 4 that are most uncomfortable for them and start working in those subjects. You may not get to the easy subjects. And of course, there are going to be a bunch in the middle, but you certainly want to start with your hard ones and work in the discomfort areas first, doing some essays, some MBE, and of course, doing some performance tests or Florida multiple choice depending on your jurisdiction. Press yourself, push yourself to be uncomfortable right now, because that's where the growth and the learning happen. We don't want you to be uncomfortable with 3 days to the exam or 5 days. I had a student that sent me a score on the February 91 multistate. We had a student, actually several students that have taken the February 91 test. The February 91 test should not be taken until after you've done at least the 3 OPEs. And if you're following the day 24 email, that's the structure there. If you're in the course and you're just going down unit by unit, assignment by assignment, you'll see, don't jump around too much when it comes to doing these practice tests. But how do we measure the OPE? How do we measure the February 91? This is a very old test, and the examiners have tried repeatedly for the last decade to get rid of it. I have argued against getting rid of it, and they have humored me, and so it's still available. The test is not in the form of the bar exam much anymore. It only has 6 subjects. It's got a different proportion of questions, and yet this test continues to have about a 95% confidence rating. Most people, 95% of the bar takers, fall within 5 points scaled up or down of how they do on this test, with an important caveat. If they take the test in the right order under test conditions at the right time, anything less than that or different than that invalidates the test as a predictor entirely. So if you jumped the OPEs and you did the MBE 1 already, great, but it's not predictive. Likewise, if you did the MBE 1 and you stretched it over a week because you did 10 questions here, 20 questions here, 30 questions there, it also is great to learn, but useless as a predictive model. If you took the MBE 1 and you did it with the book open, it is also useless as a predictive model. So in other words, in order to get the value out of it, you've got to really do it in the order that we wanted you to do it. We want you to get the experience of the OPEs. Now, there is also a 2021 exam. It's an MBE from 2021 that's got all 7 subjects in it.
I don't like that one because I didn't take Civ Pro was on the bar when I took it the first time. Yeah, that's the one.
And it's not an actual MBE, so it can't be scaled, but it's a good test of all 7 subjects. When you get to MBE 1, the February 91, there is a scale attached in the book, and at your scaled score, you add about 20 points in general. We want you to be at 130 or better if you're in the UBE. We want you to be at 136 in Florida, 135 in Georgia, 39 in California. So there you go. So there's a lot of different ways to use these tests. And if you're confused or you're having difficulty, send us an email, shoot it out to us, and be nice, but let us know what it is that's giving you trouble, and we'll try and help you. There's also the opportunity, if you're really struggling with MBE, to do the 2-call workshop with Amanda on Multistate. Maybe, Amanda, you could talk about that for just a minute as to what you do in that workshop so people can get a sense. Is it helpful at this late stage?
Yeah, so I think it is helpful to get a third party neutral perspective of how you are attacking MBEs, because you can always learn something that will clean up your thought process or approach, and you have time to practice, especially if you schedule before you start taking these, or maybe you took one and you want to get feedback now. And then two, I think that a lot of students who booked within the last few weeks of the bar exam, the last few cycles, recognized some maladaptive thought practices. Like when I asked them, why'd you pick that? Or why'd you think that? I think you're falling into this trap or that trap in your mind. Or it seems like you're answering from the front of your brain instead of your unconscious brain. Some people think they're using selective intuition and they're not. So it's good to get that perspective of what you're actually doing. We can do that in this session. I'm not going to be able to put the law in your unconscious brain, but we can definitely see if you are using your unconscious brain and what your approach is to the questions.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to approach it.
Opt in as soon as you can, because it's 2 calls. The first one is me going over the strategy of MBE and talking through your own strategy and then saying, this is what I want you to do. And you get a little practice exam on that. And then we review that exam. Not so much the law in depth, but in terms of your process and your thinking.
Okay, thanks.
Jackson in the chat.
Roger asked a question. What's the best way to pick an MBE answer if you're totally lost?
An MEE or an MBE?
MBE.
If you're totally lost, go in with your default answer of the day. Before I walk into a test, I pick A, B, C, D out of a hat, and that's my default answer when I have no idea. There's only going to be a handful of those, maybe 3, 4 of those where you have zero idea. But make sure that if your letter is C, you mark all of them as C. Don't jump around. This is me being irrational. It's a good question, but it's not really where the core is. You know the answer. All of you know the answer. And if you use selective intuition and your photo reading and non-conscious ability, you will know far more answers than you need to pass the exam. I promise you that. And I think sometimes we get fixated on the margins, which don't really matter. It's, can I make the 75-foot putt downhill on a sloping green at the Masters? Can you make a 2-foot when you're right next to the hole? That's what matters. That's where we're going. So there you go. That's my overreaction to it. Perfectly legitimate.
I think when that happens in a test situation, it's just a freak out moment. So the best way to handle it is to stop, take a deep breath, close your eyes, picture your mind map on that subject, open your eyes, look at the question again, let your intuition answer it. And if you really can't do it after that, just pick your letter of the day.
I think that's a better response than mine. All right. So we also got questions about essay writing. Somebody asked, do we have a preference or suggestion on which sets of full-length essay exams to take? No, we don't. They're all there. Pick an exam. If there's one that you haven't done, do it. There are practice exams, but if you're following along in the course, in Florida and California and Georgia, we have preset practice exams you'll get to. For the MEE, you've got a ton of different exams that you can take. Just pick one. It doesn't really matter. Just follow the instructions and don't overthink it. Do you need to do 6 essays in a day? I would be very careful about doing that. Certainly at this stage, I think you're still too far out. But really, you don't need to be doing 6 essays a day at this point, in my view. Amanda, what's your take on that?
I've been telling people, perhaps out of turn, I don't know if taking all 6 is what you need to do. I do think taking 2 back to back or maybe 3 at the most will help you build some endurance and just see what it's like to answer an essay, move on, answer an essay, move on. You've already done it 6 times. Now just feel what it feels like in this. if you're going to run a marathon, nobody runs 26.2 miles before they run a marathon. They run like 18 or 20 maybe, and then they run a marathon. You're going to burn yourself out. So there's no magic number. If you feel like you need to do 6, do it. The most I did was 2 in a row, but I thought that gave me a good feeling of what that was like.
Yeah, I think this is the point where people can overdo it. This isn't the time for consistent growth. Do a couple, mind map them, look at them, see how you're doing. Instead of trying to do a whole lot of essays, find the subject that you're having the most trouble with and do some depth in that subject. That's my personal view on it. It's your journey. One last question about essays. We got an email from a student that was doing some coaching and said, as I was writing essays, I became anxious because I was having a difficult time changing my writing style from IRAC to FLA. The FLA writing style makes a lot of sense to me, and I can use the skills on my essays, but I don't want to change the structure at this point. It is your journey. You get to write these essays any way you want. We are not going to coach students on how to issue spot and do IRAC writing. That is not what we do. We don't believe in it. We're not fans of it. We don't think it's a good writing style. Having said that, it's still your choice if you want to use that style. When someone has repeated the exam and not been successful, there is a criteria that says you should not be doing the thing you were doing before. So if you've been using issue spotting and IRAC writing and you say it makes me comfortable, I'm reminded of the old comment about the stinky diapers. They're stinky and they're wet, but they're mine. And there's a certain sense of I'm just staying with what's comfortable, even though I know it doesn't work. I would strongly encourage this student or any student to get out of their comfort zone and learn this writing style. It is not hard to learn. Does it make you uncomfortable? Only because you're really brainwashed into thinking that IRAC is a better writing style. Most people that use IRAC don't pass on their first attempt. And IRAC is a writing style that you never see in practice. I think Tracy and Amanda can both speak to this. You don't see IRAC anywhere in practice. It's a law school affectation, and the bar examiners don't favor it. And so if someone says, I want to walk into the exam being insecure, I've taken the exam many times now, my heart goes out to them. I want them to succeed. And the best way to succeed is to change their writing. Now, they're going to go in and take the exam, use IRAC. We hope it works. And I think that if you're at all thinking, I'm going to jump ship right now, that's a bad plan. If you're in this course, you're using fact law application and you should stay with it. It works and it works really well. Amanda, you have any thoughts about this?
I agree. Did have this, and you know what I saw a lot of, not a lot, but a handful of throughout my time here, not just last time, not just last bar exam, but a few times where people said, we thought they were going to pass. They were like, shoo in, and we're like, we do the debrief after, what happened? And they're like, I wrote IRAC. Like they went back. They're like, I know I did it. I jumped ship at the very end, and we're here for them in the end, and it happens. But if you're not going to buy in now, then I don't know if you're ever going to buy in before this exam. Choose your own journey. This is a choose your own adventure. We can recommend what we're going to recommend. I would put, and now we're getting into the course this late, and now we're writing IRAC. I don't think it's a good idea. I'm going to learn this in the next 13 days. I'm going to get comfortable with it. That doesn't mean I'm going to write 24 essays a day, but I'm definitely going to write a few good ones a day. And if I don't have coaching, I'm going to get a coach right now and schedule as many sessions as I can.
This particular student does have a coach, so there's the opportunity to get that coaching. I just think it makes a difference. And would I like them to be writing FLA? Absolutely. I developed this writing style 35 years ago. I've taught it to thousands and thousands of people. It works. And I just got to tell you, if you're using IRAC, it's because you've been brainwashed, and it's not because there's any empirical reason for you to use it. So there you go. Tracy, I know you've been in practice as a judge and an attorney. Issue spotting going on and IRAC writing and the actual practice of law?
It's hard to deal with. It's hard to understand what's going on. When I read an essay or a brief or a motion that is written in IRAC style, I'm scratching my head most of the time trying to follow a person's writing. Facts are all over the place. Law is usually missing because you get all head up in the facts and going right to a conclusion. And it's a terrible way to write. FLA and that simple recipe that I just put up here, a better way to write and be a professional in a courtroom. or in writing a note, or in speaking to a client and getting your client to understand what's going on. We're not just passing an exam, you're doing professional work now. And this is a professional competency exam. What you did in law school was a law school exam. This is a professional competency exam. Can you express yourself in words, in writing, in a logical and organized and persuasive style? That's really all it is. If you abandon that now, you're basically abandoning professional competence in the area of writing.
Yeah. So other than that, we don't have any strong feelings. So those are our questions. Tracy, you wanted to talk about eyes and hearts forward. I understood eyes forward, but hearts forward. Let me turn it over to you.
Jackson, you mentioned it at the beginning of this podcast that it's Valentine's Day. It's also Ash Wednesday. If you practice this specific religion, it's the start of Lent, and Lent is the start of paying attention. Mardi Gras is something where you pay attention. Valentine's Day, whether or not you're in a love relationship, you can tell the people around you that are supporting you and helping you that you love them. But it's paying attention to them in a special way. And what I'm talking about is paying attention to the movement of the universe in all of these things. This is a perfect time in the next 2 weeks to slow your monkey mind down, to thank it for keeping you awake all night or waking you up in the middle of the night, but to tell it to have a seat because you have important work to do. It's important now to just recognize what's going on around you in your studies. How are you feeling? How are you approaching this? This is Freak Out Wednesday. I'm giving you permission to just freak out all day today. Can't write a word, can't take one exam, can't answer one question. This is a day for your heart. This is a day for you to really get in touch with where you are and why you are doing this. Why are you doing this now? Why are you giving up on the process, on this professional competency exam in 2 weeks? Where is your heart in all this? So you got your head, your heart, your gut. This is a good time to make sure that you are eating, that you're getting plenty of protein and fresh vegetables and fruit. This is not the time to be camping out at your favorite fast food place or to be just going to your pantry and grabbing the chips. You need to feed your whole body right now. You need to be aware of the movement of your universe. He's very wise. And I think as he gets older, he gets even more wise. But I want to show you this. You can screenshot it, but you can't repost it, please. But just keep it, print it out, put it on your desk right now. Let's just say it out loud right now. Don't unmute, but just say it as I say it. Speak positive words into your life every single morning. Think big. Think healing. Think success. Think peace. Think happiness. Think growth mindset. Always start the day with positive energy. You deserve it. God gave us eyes in the front of our face for a reason. This is the time that all your past failures, you put them aside. Thank you for teaching me. It's part of your super ego. Put it aside until after the bar exam. We have eyes in the front of our head to look forward. We have hearts in the front of our chest so that we can feel the beat. You can do this. We're here to help you. So freak out today all you want, and then tomorrow get in touch with your head, your heart, your gut, with Morgan Freeman's wisdom, and with your eyes looking forward.
Morgan Freeman is God. I love that he talks about the growth mindset. Thanks, Tracy. Listen, we know that this is a tough week. This is the week when growth happens. As you're going through these difficult days or hours, understand that it gets better, always gets better. And we are so proud of the work that each of you have done. I know all of you, and you're all working very hard out on the podcast. And I'm sure that all of you are working hard as well. Give yourselves some grace here. Give yourselves some room to grow and learn. Don't expect to know it all today. Thank you, Tracy. Amanda, any closing thoughts as we wrap up Valentine's and start to head into this upcoming week?
I would just, you got this. I've worked with many of you, and you're more than capable of passing this exam. If you start having those thoughts creeping in, like this has now shook my confidence, shaken me up, don't let it. Have the growth mindset. You have this. Everything from here to the exam is all growth. No setbacks, no roadblocks, no traffic jams. We got this.
And we're here for you. This is a heck of a coaching staff. Between Tracy, Amanda, Brianna, and June, you've got incredible talent, ready and willing to help you. We've done it a long time, so we know how to get you over the hump. Have a wonderful Valentine's. Say I love you to the special people in your life. Don't take your bar review books to the Valentine's dip. You can get back at your studying tomorrow, first thing, bright and early. So with that, we're going to say goodbye. Have a great week and a weekend. We'll be back next week to wrap up as we get a week away from the exam. Take care, everybody. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.